The most successful people in the world all have one thing in common. They've learned how to think big by developing a perspective of possibility. And the good news is, we all have the potential to apply the same strategies to achieve amazing things in our work and lives. Hi, I'm Rob Hartnett, and as your Chief Possibility Officer and host, I'm here to inspire you to become the star of your world as a person of possibility, through learning how people from all areas of life are thinking big and chasing down their dreams. I'm back with my great friend, Darren Finkelstein. Now, Darren was on the show a few years ago with his previous book. He's on with his new book this time. I'm so excited to have him on board. Darren, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Rob, for having me. Love being on your show.
You were fantastic last time, so we got you back.
Thank you. I love that.
Now, when we talked about last time, you were talking about one of my passions, which you continue to do, which you'd stop, which was about accountability, because I've got this philosophy, leadership, accountability, discipline, right? And your accountability is just so important, and it continues to be a big part of your life. I know we tick those boxes, and you're very passionate about it. Now, you're building your business and doing that. You've had a stellar career through Apple and a lot of corporate businesses. And disclaimer here, Darren and I work together at Apple. So if it comes up, that's where we work together. But you've done so much more than that. And I think that's what I love about you. You're so inspirational that when you left Apple, you went to a right-hand turn and build a business in a passion, which is the marine industry for you. And you built it up very successful, ran marinas and the whole thing, then exited out of that, and then you built this other business up. So you just continued to reinvent yourself, which I love. But you've written a new book, and the book's really simple. I mean, the title mustn't have taken you long to come up with, because it's 2 letters, which is no.
No, right? No. I can't even spell that wrong.
You can't even get it wrong.
Can't even get it wrong.
You can't even get that wrong, but we've heard you may have mucked up on the T-shirt, but that's we'll talk about in a moment. But you've got the book No. Now, accountability, I thought was a really strong book. What was the reason for writing the book about no? Tell me about that.
Yeah, look, I coach so many C-suite executives, senior managers, their teams, and individuals, and saying no is something that we always seem to circle back to because we get distracted by stuff. If we ultimately want to achieve our goals, we want to have a laser focused and head in that direction. Do everything we possibly can to achieve what we want to achieve. But when we say yes to stuff, it can be often a distraction from what's really important. And we've all got the characteristic of wanting to say yes to people, because it's nice to say yes. It's nice to help out others. But when we do that, quite often we're actually not helping ourselves. Yeah. And that saying a no is an important way to remove the distraction. So
often we do, you do find generally that we're people pleasers. We like to not say no. We like to avoid conflict. We like to take on more, generally, not everybody. But so when you're doing your coaching, was that something that, you would imagine at the C-suite, and you imagine that the leadership position, that some of those people would have learned to have said no by now, or at least known how to focus. But clearly that wasn't the case. You were still finding people finding it difficult to say no, or at least focus. Was that right?
Yeah, very much so, Rob. Quite often the C-suites are, juggling lots of balls, right? And they're juggling balls between perhaps what the shareholders want, what the board wants, and trying to make that happen with their teams and the troops on the ground. And that ability to say no is just something that they felt really uncomfortable about because, and you touched on people pleasers, look back to when we were kids, right? I look back to when I was younger, and my parents always instilled in me the importance of saying yes and being positive and having all the right vibes. But what I was effectively doing was self-sabotaging myself, because I'm pleasing everybody else by saying, yes, of course I can. But it's distracting me from what I really need to do, or what are the things I want to do. So that's the case.
And Darren, I think you've hit a really good point here, because this is one of the kind of oxymorons I'm finding of customer experience and customer success. And I work a lot with companies who want to improve that, who want to get better at it, who want to lift their NPS scores or that type of thing. And one of the things that gets instilled is we've got to be really customer focused, but by saying yes to everything. And I actually think that's the wrong tactic. And I'm like, you can't be customer focused by saying yes to everything, because you're just going to run out of bandwidth. Have you found that as well in this kind of customer success? Customers are number one, customers this, customers that. So everyone tends to bend over backwards until they're either burnt out or they fall down.
Yeah, look, Rob, I think I've certainly found that. And I think the problem with that is that people don't know how to say no nicely. They don't know how to say no in a way that is empathetic, it's honest, it's heartfelt, it's all of those things. I remember my dad used to say to me, it's not what you say, it's the way you say it. So if we can frame our no's in a way that is more positive, we could get those people in customer service to still work with the client and make the client feel like they're being heard, they're being listened to, and we as a company are listening, but we want to focus in this area and get something right. Now, our old employee, Apple, does that beautifully. Go to an Apple store, right? And go and speak to one of the staff members there who will never tell you what you're doing is wrong. They will show you another way to do that exercise, and you get the answer you want, and you feel like you've been nicely redirected in the right way.
I love that, Darren, because it's one of the examples I use with people. Is I think Apple do it well, as do a lot of really good lifestyle luxury brands. Is that you're actually not met with someone from customer service or the technician. You're met with concierge, who is an underrated skill in my view. The concierge slows you down, find out exactly what you want, and redirects you to either the right person over here, and almost just really does that place where they're saying, we understand you're in a rush, but guess what? Here's the timing over here. Here's what I can do for you. I can slot you in here. They really do that yes but no in a really nice way, and I think that's so. I really like the way you talked about that. In fact, I was with a colleague of mine this morning who's a mentor. She mentors leaders, especially in the arts area, and they're not just people pleasers, but they just love being so people friendly and so helpful. And but they've got a massive in that industry, the burnout rate's really high, and she was struggling with it. Going, let me understand that why are you burning out? And they're like, oh, because I've got so much work on. We've got so many venues we're working on. We've got this. And she said, but why do you keep saying yes to these venues and these concerts? And they go, well, but we have to. How can we say no to an artist? And she goes, well, could you say to the artist, yes, we'd love to have you in our venue, but we can fit you in June 2025 and not try and squeeze them in for December 2024.
Yeah, absolutely. About realigning our priorities. And
she was greeted with silence, right? And they were like, we can do that? We can do that? Is that right? So we're saying yes, but we're saying yes on our terms. Oh, wow.
So you talk about the concierge, right? The concierge, and you're right, it is totally an underrated position. But when they greet a client, they're going through this checklist in their head of this criteria, trying to filter out, get rid of that, keep that, get rid of that, keep that. And the ones they keep, okay, who here is the best person to be able to latch onto that and explain it in the right way? And so they get redirected to the right person, and that is such an important role. But it's creating that checklist is the similar strategy to what I talk about in my book.
Yes.
We need to get a checklist. We need to have a checklist in our heads of what's possible, what isn't possible, what are the boundaries we want to work within, that we want to hold safe and we want to hold important to us, and be able to work within those boundaries. But when we don't have boundaries, we say yes to everything because we just want to, fit in. We want to be liked.
I like that, the area of boundaries, and I like the templates and the checklist you have in the book and throughout the book, which I really like. And I think you don't only do a checklist, you'll say, hey, here's how you can do it on a daily basis, which I think is really important. And one of the ones I love that you put in is number one, which was my number one as well, which was values. I think they're so important. I do come across people who are really stressed, and 9 times out of 10 it's because they're compromising on their values.
Yeah.
Can you talk more about why you came to number one for values as well?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Values to us, to me, is like it's more where my integrity sits. And so if I can't take on doing a task and can't embrace doing a task if I try to bullshit my way through it. It's
Yes.
just, my heart's just not in it. So if we can identify what are our values right up front, identify those non-negotiables, those things
Yeah.
that are really important, then we can make sure we have a match on those. Then we're moving forward with something that aligns with us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a bit like, I talk in my accountability sessions about why New Year's resolutions fail.
Right.
We all have a few champagnes or whatever our liking is on New Year's Eve. Yes, I'm going to run a marathon this year. It just 90% of the time it doesn't happen. And it doesn't happen because the task isn't aligned with one of my values.
Right.
I'm saying yes to go to the gym 5 times because my partner thinks I need to lose some weight, perhaps.
Yes.
Certainly not in my case, but
No, of course not.
but the idea is that we want to make sure that the important things don't get forgotten. We want to make sure that we really stay focused on the stuff that's true to us because we can't bullshit our way through this because it's just going to come unstuck.
Yeah. And are you aware of what January 19 is? Does that ring a
No.
bell for you? Well, January 18 should ring a bell because that's my birthday and you know that. But January 19, 19 to 20, but around 19 is what's known as International Quitters Day. And that's come from millions and millions of data points from Strava. Strava, which is used by the cyclists and runners, the old saying is if it's not on Strava, it didn't happen. Right, well, Strava can show you exactly what you just said, but they can give you the evidence, which is New Year's Day, right? The spike goes up. January 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it goes up. And then on about January 19, it just falls off the cliff. All their data
Wow.
falls off and people are out of town, right? But here's the thing though, which is interesting. I'd love your thoughts on this one, because what they've found is, within a week, those who are training with a buddy or a group get back on the horse again. Those who do not are never seen on Strava again.
Wow.
So
Well, that's
accountability and saying no, but making people aware of that. Just be interested in your thoughts on that.
Yeah, yeah, interesting. Well, the whole basis and the whole foundation of my accountability program are my 7 steps and the 7 steps of my road to accountability. Step number 6 is about if you have an accountability partner, somebody you commit to with frequency on a specific day, right? So it's not just,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll catch up. No, but Rob, I'm meeting you on Monday morning at 7 o'clock.
Yes.
If we have that, our probability of achieving our goal or our task skyrockets
Yes.
to 95%,
Yeah.
providing we've done all the precursors to that. But
Yeah.
ultimately, it's eyeballing somebody, meeting with someone on going for a ride and meeting you on the corner of the major intersection at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'll be there, mate. I'm not letting you down. We're going to do it together.
Yeah.
You're not going to let me down. I'm not going to let you down. And I might wake up, bit of a headache, thinking of all the reasons I can't do it. But ultimately, I've made a commitment to you. And that's enough to get people to turn up and then participate. And then when they got their buddy, they're working off each other, they're feeding off each other, they're supporting each other, and you can achieve miracles that way.
Yeah, I think there's so many great parts of this book. No, one of the interesting parts that I liked about No and how it connects, I was talking to one of the major banks and they were saying to me that, I said, how do you know if a business is going to make it or not, right? A new business. And they said, oh, it's really easy. It's when the business owner or his board or the directors or founders come to us in about year 2 or 3 and say, look, we've had to think about our business. We've been looking at what we're doing and we've decided we're going to focus on these particular clients and we're going to move away from this market. We're going to say no to these clients, no to this particular market, no to this territory, no to this overseas market, whatever it happens to be. When they have the maturity to go, here's what we're saying no to, the bank said that is 9 times out of 10 they've gone over the maturity hump. It's actually documented in their data.
Yeah,
So
interesting.
when they say no, when they start saying no, they know they've matured as a business. They're looking at their data and they're now
Yep.
committed to something. They've narrowed it down. The bank goes, great, happy. How much do you want?
Right.
Right.
Well, that decision that the organisation makes to review what's happened in the past, what's happened in the first 2 or 3 years in your example, get together to see what's working for them, what isn't, what's really difficult, what provides them the most amount of pleasure or profitability, etc. They will then soon realise what the distractions are. Those things
Yes.
that they put a bucket load of energy into and
Yeah.
they're not getting the return from, and they're the ones they want to cut.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is the notion of saying no is the basis behind that. It's to be empowered to make the right decision for you in those circumstances, rather than just going, oh, but we can't change the way it's always been. We'll just
Yeah.
leave it as it is. What we're saying here is no, because no isn't a rejection. It's a redirection towards what truly is important.
Yeah.
And if we can really understand the importance and the weight that that has in our organisation, we can start making the right decisions for us.
I like that no, and it's a new redirection. I tell you though, I do in some of the workshops I run, and this is why your books really resonated with me. I do the philosophy of keep, stop, start, which I'm sure you're across. What do you want to keep? What do you want to stop doing? What do you want to start doing? And I don't know if you've had the same experience as me running this in workshops. I find that they do keep really well. They do a massive list of start, and there's nothing in the stop column.
Oh,
And
well,
I'm
because
like,
they've got more than 24 hours a day, right?
right, who are these people? And I'm like, guys,
Miracle men.
look, people, you cannot do that. You can't keep loading up the start, keeping everything you're doing, and you're not going to stop anything. And
No,
it really
that's
takes
crazy.
it's the second wave of the brainstorming, right? Which usually first wave, all the vocal people talk, right? And everyone goes, "That's it, my way." And then the second time you start getting the kind of more the more introverts start coming up and going, "Actually, well, surely is there any need to do that report we've been doing for the last 3 years for the client who's never read it once? Oh, how long does it take you to do it? Oh, 4 days. Oh, and 5 other people involved. Oh, maybe we could stop that. Boom, put it on the stop list." But I find in workshops, just getting people to put it on the stop list, it's almost like there's a magnet that's pulling the marker away. It's like a
I know.
magnet.
And then when you try and peel one finger at a time off it, and then you just leave claw marks on it.
That's it. They just can't write the
We
stop.
hold that stuff. We're very possessive, right? We take ownership of things, and we take it personally when it's taken away from us.
Yes.
Because we see it as, well, hang on a sec, maybe I'm not doing something right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Instead of seeing it as an opportunity
Right.
of realizing that if we can just rid ourselves of that, we get all this extra time to do this. And that is what's important. But it starts with understanding what's important, and then removing everything that's not working in that direction towards it.
Yeah, I think that the whole area of purpose and mission you speak really highly of, and really focusing down on it, because I think people do have this fear of missing out, and we've got so much distraction right now. There was something else I was going to ask you about, which I really liked in your book. You covered, and full kudos for you for doing this. You covered cultural challenges and generational. And I think I've certainly the work I've done in Asia, especially, and in Japan, there's you don't say no. There's a way of saying, well, I'll put it a better way, but like your father, there's a way of saying no. And so I'm glad you covered that. What led you to extend the book in terms of covering off cultural challenges with saying no?
Yeah. So for me, it was understanding that everybody's circumstances are different. And what gives me the belief of my opinion on saying no comes from a good place, but it's a place of somebody else.
Yes.
It's a place in my case of listening to my dad's wonderful advice he gave me, and he was right in lots of things, but not in everything. And we build our opinions based upon stuff not necessarily that we've created through our own experiences, but from what we've inherited. And what we inherited comes from generational differences and cultural differences.
Yes.
So we kind of need to understand what those things are so we can actually formulate and mold what our response is going to be.
Yeah.
And I don't talk about giving responses in the book because that is unique to individuals. But we need to realize that a standard response is not going to work.
Yeah.
Just because we did it in the past doesn't mean we have to do it moving forward.
Yeah. Now, very good. I love the way you covered so many. You covered religion, you covered faith, and I thought you really went into it more than I've ever seen before. And I think that's really admirable of you to do it, because there are ways of doing it, and we have to. It's like your father said. Yeah, sometimes it's not what's said, but it's actually how it's taken. We have to be careful of that, which I thought you were really good at.
Yeah, thanks for that. Look, the old man had some great advice, and that's one of them. And but it's just it works so in so many of my client scenarios that I use to draw on writing the book. Every client is different. One standard way is not going to work. Yes. We need to take those elements into account for both the person who is saying the no and the person who's going to hear the no.
Yeah, right.
And so we can understand different perspectives, and we can use that in our favour when we put the words together to craft the no.
And what about generational side? What did you find there between the sort of veterans to boomers to Gen X, which you and I are, to millennials to Gen Z and now Gen Alpha? Was there any trend? Did you just
say I was a Gen X?
You and I are Gen X.
Oh wow, thanks.
Well, you look Gen X.
Oh, I love that even more. Yeah, not quite. I'm still from the boomer hangover. We're all sitting back now working at our retirement according to the book.
That's right.
It's we can get caught up in trying to work out where we fit in all of this. And the important part of it is that we all think differently. And we think differently because that's the generation or the peer group where we've been surrounding ourselves with. Understanding how each of those generations are going to pass a message on and how they're going to absorb that message is really key. And just simply recognising the fact that, hang on a sec, I'm not talking to someone of my vintage. I'm talking to someone who's young enough to be my son. Well, they're going to need to use a different tack to get a different strategy to do that.
That's right. Well, it's interesting you should say, because I'm loving a lot of the Gen Zs. I love the way they're saying no, Darren, the way they've said no. If you try and employ Gen Z, the first thing they want to know is what's the purpose of your business? And we're not going to just take the job for the money. Like, we actually want to know, what does this business do?
Yeah. And what are you giving back?
What are you giving back, and what's your purpose program? I want to be coached. I want to be mentored. So I'm going to say no if I can't get that. If I can't grow as an individual, then maybe you're not the organisation. And they're pushing back. I mean, you and I, when we got our jobs, we're like, just happy to get paid, man. Just happy to get
correct. Something. And if you wanted me to jump over a mountain, I'd go and jump over the mountain. Right. Yeah. There's no issue about that.
I know. One of my first jobs was with Rio Tinto. I mean, try to tell your kids about that now. What were you thinking? I was thinking about buying a house. That's what I was thinking. It's different, right? And it was different. It was a different circumstance. It was different back then. But I think the no side of things, funnily enough, I see it more in Gen Z than I do in boomers and Gen X.
Yeah. And the target audience for my book is targeted more towards the yous and me's of this world.
Yeah.
Where we're perhaps a little bit more fixed in our ideas, and we need to open up and listen to some of the methodologies and strategies of the younger folk. But we're a bit closed-minded for that.
Yeah, although I do think, though, when I was going through your templates and your strategies, your lists and things like that, very applicable for a couple of startups I'm working with. With some real Gen Z going through it, who are growing, and now they're running into growing pains. And their market is very big, and now they're trying to contract the market. And so I thought a lot of the stuff around for the leaders of those businesses was just as applicable.
Yeah, great. You can jump onto my website. You can download those templates for free.
Yeah, and just give us the website.
tickthoseboxes.com.au.
Right.
Click on the link and find the free stuff, and it's in there. You can download those templates from the book.
Brilliant. Now, tell me something though. What have you said no to in your life that's been beneficial in the last few years?
Oh wow! So I wrote about this story where I should have said no, which occupied quite a lot of my energy at the time. For those people that aren't aware, I was, as a youngster, I was in a wonderful situation where my father-in-law was really entrepreneurial and he wanted me to follow in his footsteps. And this is before our days
Yes.
at Apple. This is way before Apple today. And he wanted me to, be a business owner like he started off. And so he was really keen for me to, you know, get out of the corporate I was working for at the time. I think it was Xerox at the time. Get
Right.
out of working for Xerox and go and set up your own business. And of course, I just was, yes, yeah, love to. What a great idea. Oh, and I was enthusiastic as hell. I just wasn't ready for it.
Yes.
And because I wasn't ready for it in so many different areas, and I write about it in great detail in the book, I should have said no to that. I
Yeah.
should have just said, thanks for the offer. Really appreciate it. The faith you're putting in me is wonderful, but I'm just not ready for it now.
Right.
Perhaps I could be mentored by you. I could go and work in your business for a little while instead of with Xerox and understand how it all works. And I can then go and try a venture when I'm feeling a little bit more confident.
Yeah.
That's what I should have said.
Yeah, I
I
like that
didn't.
because
I
it's a
said
no, isn't it?
yes.
It's a no, but you can say no but not be a no. It's like no to that way, but how about yes to this way? And
Yes.
yeah, and I think sometimes
Exactly.
we
Exactly.
we have to take it whatever someone's given us. We think that's the only option, and I think that's one of the really interesting parts. It's actually an interesting part of possibilities that I'm working on at the moment. That possibilities isn't black and white. Possibilities can mean different things. There are more things than you think about. If people
Yep.
think about, well, will I go to the business? Will I shut down the business? Will I start that or will I do that? And there's actually halfway and quarter ways you can do stuff. There's way more choices we have if we sit down
Then
and think
yes or
about it.
no, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But so I talk about in the book, and when we look at, if I look at my boundaries by design, that 10-step framework that I've
Yeah.
created, the thing that's really important in that is for me is to sit on something, right? Don't just give an immediate yes decision.
Yes.
I'm excited and I'm motivated, like as anybody, but it's okay for me to just go pause on it,
Mm.
sit and think about it, maybe go home and do some spreadsheets and do some
Yeah.
stuff to get my head around the numbers because I'm good at that sort of thing. I get a lot of comfort out of that. And then be able to come back with a decision.
Right.
But it's actually to weigh up that decision and to look at my checklist and see how it sits with my own values and my own goals and my priorities, and then be able to come back with a well considered, sensitively delivered response, whether it is yes
Yeah.
or it's a no.
Yeah.
But just to take that time is okay. You don't have to
Yeah.
rush and make a decision.
Well, I think it also is something that you talk about a lot in the book, which is a really important part of our makeup and how our brain works, which is it gives us autonomy. And I think autonomy is such a powerful word.
It
And you,
is.
you talk a lot about it and the fact that no allows you to have autonomy. I think that's a really strong part because you having worked through the David Rock's SCARF model, having worked in Neuro Leadership Institute, and the A of the SCARF model is autonomy, and it's such a huge part. But people sometimes don't know how do I gain autonomy in a situation which looks like someone's telling me something or giving me a black or white choice. You do actually have autonomy, and I love that's in the book. It's covered on how to actually do that and how to frame those conversations. So really good.
Oh, thank you for that. Look, practicing polite refusals in front of the mirror and going,
Yeah.
playing out those scenarios so you're actually feeling comfortable delivering those words. And for God's sake, do it with empathy, do it
Yes.
with honesty, and just listen to yourself talk to make sure that you're coming across with the right intention.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it. And I think it's funny you writing this book on no because I mean one of our biggest competitors at the time when you and I were at Apple was Dell, and Michael Dell was always well known for saying no and the power of no. And Michael Dell was known for saying no and just saying keep the main thing the main thing. And when I
Yeah.
say no, it means I can actually keep on the focus. And he gets
Yeah.
things thrown at him all the time when he was running Dell Computer, like tons of stuff. But his ability to say no was one of the hallmarks of why he was successful. And I think it's
Yeah.
just great that you've produced a great little book. Now, tell us more about where can we find out? We mentioned the website, but is there a website around the book as well?
Yeah, there is. Yeah, you can head to knowthebook.com.au.
That's it. So it's not The Notebook, which that's a great movie, but it's Know the Book.
Know the book. NOTHEBOOK. Alternatively, just go to tickthoseboxes.com.au and you can find the link to all of my books there.
And you've
You
got
can
all
buy
the
book
books
bundles.
there. And, and you can see great pictures of you, which is fantastic. Mate, thank you so much for jumping on today. It's been really good. It's been enlightening as always. Thank you so much.
No. Yes.
No. Yes.
I got you.
You did.
Oh, thank you, mate. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you wanting to share with your audience the value in the book No and saying those words that are carefully considered. And I appreciate that, mate. Thank you.
It's all, look, when I talk about possibility is not possible until you say no to a few things, right? Because it's that important part, and I love that. So much of what I've written in books and talk about is 100% aligned to what you've done in now 2 books. So I can't wait for the next one, which will be your 7th. It'll be a 6th or 7th, the next one.
Yeah,
Six,
it's going to be, that'll be book number 6, not that I'm counting. It's funny, I started all these books when I hit the age of 50.
Yeah.
So I'm a late bloomer.
Yeah, but that's when you do it, and this is the great thing about you, as I love as well. I've spoken about is the fact that you've done so many career changes, left-hand turns, right-hand turns, but just kept it going and living life to the full. So brilliant, mate. Thanks for being on. Appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for talking to me, Rob. Look after yourself.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the It's All Possible podcast. You can contact me at rob@robhartnett.com or my website, robhartnett.com, or on LinkedIn. Remember to check out the previous seasons and episodes of the podcast and the show notes for more details on this episode's guest. For more inspiration, remember to check out the It's All Possibility playlist on Spotify, which contains a collection of upbeat, positive music I use for inspiration in my live performances. Until next time, live with passion and a perspective of possibility.